going to be making a wonderful dish from the Italian Riviera called Triofe with basil pesto. I've eaten this dish many times over there. It's got string beans in it and potatoes and homemade basil pesto along with the Triofe pasta. I'll teach you how to make the most perfect pesto today. You can even freeze pesto if you didn't know that for at least a year if you want. So please enjoy the video. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe to my channel yet, please do. I'd love that. And you'll find the ingredients listed below in the description box, and you'll find the full recipe at My Italian Kitchen by Chef Diane Mantica on Facebook. You gotta make this soon. Have a great day and ciao. Let me show you how to store the basil, and I learned this from an organic farmer at a farmer's market once, and it really works beautifully. So grab yourself a scissor and a nice tall glass and fill it with cool water, and you've got your bunch of basil. And all I'm going to do is trim off the bottom. This is just like having a flower or some flowers that you're going to put in a vase. Tuck this in. Try and keep some of the leaves above the water if you can, because they'll rot. They will. Then pop this in that beautiful cool water, and this is all you need. And this is going to last way longer on your countertop. I was told that basil hates cold, so the refrigerator is not what you want to do. So get yourself some really good Reggiano Parmesan. I need about 1/2 cup for this recipe. So let's get this put aside so we're ready to go at the food processor. I'm going to measure out about 4 cups of basil. You can pack this down really tight too in your cup. Sometimes there's a little bit of a flower starting in the center of basil, and you can actually eat that. It's actually delicious, and you can put that in your basil pesto. So now that everything is ready, let's go over to the food processor and get this made. I'm going to use 1 garlic clove. Don't be tempted to use more. I've ruined many a pesto that way. It seems like it's not enough garlic, but boy, it's really going to travel far. Let me get this peeled. When I learned how to make basil pesto, or really any kind of pesto, the thing that I was taught was to put all of the harder ingredients in first into your food processor, or you could probably do that also with your mortar and pestle if you're using that. So that means we need to get our garlic in first. Okay, I can cut this garlic up just a little bit more. It won't really matter because the food processor is going to take good care of it. Okay, so I'm going to want to whiz this around until this breaks up, until that garlic clove really starts breaking up. So now comes the basil. I'm going to put about half of it in and get that buzzed. I love to use my pulse button on my food processor. That way you have a lot of control. That should be enough, and now I'm going to add the rest. At this point in time, I'll add my pine nuts. So sprinkle that on top of your basil. And let's get the lid on, and we're going to buzz this. If I were using a larger nut like an almond or a walnut, I would have put those in first along with the garlic clove. But the pine nuts are really small, and they're going to grind up beautifully in here. Now it's time for the olive oil. So the great thing about having this little open spout on your Cuisinart or your food processor is that you can drizzle your oil right in there. Use a really good olive oil. This is an extra virgin olive oil, and the more expensive, the better when you're making pesto. I'm going to use about 1/2 cup. Let me pop this food processor on and drizzle this in. If it looks like your pesto is a little bit too watery, don't worry because your cheese is going to solidify it. I was also taught not to put my grated cheese in here, but to put it in separately, all by itself. So I think we're ready. This looks beautiful. Let's get this in a bowl and we'll mix in our Parmesan cheese. Always be careful with a food processor not to hurt yourself on the blade. I very carefully take it out and put that aside. I'm not going to put salt in my pesto because the Parmesan cheese is very salty, and particularly if you use a pecorino sheep's milk cheese, it's very salty. So now let's get our parm and put that in. There is nothing better than this. Now it's time to prep our string beans. We want to use about 1 cup. If you feel like adding a little bit more, it's going to be okay. So the whole idea is to make sure that your string beans and your potatoes are small. You don't want them much bigger than your pasta. This is an interesting fact. Many people trim off that little end of the string bean, that natural end that starts, and there's no need to do that. That's probably the best part of the string bean. You really just want to get rid of that little stem. So you want your string beans to be maybe 1 inch or a little bit more. So now we're going to use our baby potatoes. These are a red skin potato, and when I ate this dish in the Italian Riviera, I mostly saw it made with new potatoes. You can use an Idaho potato or a russet. Just make sure you peel that. I'm not going to peel this potato though. I'm going to keep the skin on. So cut them also in about a 1-inch square. And we're going to use about 1 cup. Once again, you can go a little bit over if you'd like. I'm just going to approach my potato by cutting it in half, and it's always great to take your vegetable and flip it over so that it doesn't rock and roll and you don't cut yourself that way. I've washed these potatoes, and now I'm just going to get them as close as I can to about a 1-inch cut. So believe it or not, we're going to cook the whole dish in just 1 pot. I've got my pot on the stove that I'm going to cook the pasta in, and we're actually going to cook the string beans and the potatoes right in the same water with the pasta. This is really a great plus during the hot summer months when you just want to get one thing going on the stove. Get your pasta bowl ready. I'm going to scoop out the pasta, string beans, and potatoes when they're ready, and then I'm going to put them in the bowl and toss them with the basil pesto. So here's my pasta. I'm going to cook this for about 2 or 3 minutes before I begin adding my vegetables. Always stir your pasta right away and never turn the heat down. You want to keep this at a rolling boil. I can even put the lid back on it now to create that boil. If you're using Gemelli pasta, it's a little bit wider than this cut. So I would say cook that Gemelli for about 4 minutes. So now after about 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes with the pasta cooking, I'm going to add the potatoes to the pot. I'm going to cook those for about 2 more minutes. You may find you need to cook this a little bit more. Test your potatoes after the 2 minutes, but don't forget we're going to add the string beans, and those string beans will need at least a couple of minutes to cook too. So now it's time to add your string beans to the pot. I'm going to time that for about 2 minutes also. And then at the end, let's see if our pasta and our potatoes are just right. Like I said, you might need to add a couple more minutes onto the cooking time. So it's time to get the pasta out. So I gave this particular pasta an extra 3 minutes of cooking. And look at how beautiful that is. Let's get this out of the boiling water. Make sure you have a nice pasta bowl. Invest in one. They're wonderful to have. I'm going to shake out the water. While our pasta is hot, let's add our pesto. If you feel you need to add some olive oil to this, you can. I do that quite often at the end. I just give it a little hit of olive oil. It's looking really good right now, but that's all up to you. This smells just like summer. It's doing a beautiful job of coating our pasta, potatoes, and string beans. There, this covers it beautifully. Make sure you get all of that pesto mixed in. So it's time to taste. Oh my God, is that good? You really have to make this. You're going to be so happy. Here's my lunch. You're going to have to make this summer, and you can actually make it all year round if you've got a good source for basil. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you get to watch my future videos and my past videos on making unique and fabulous Italian dishes.